Thanks a lot for staying with us here at CNN News 18. You're watching Right Stand. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. A fierce battle transpired at the Supreme Court between the Waqf Board and the BBMP over the ownership of the Eidgah Maidan over Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations. The Waqf Board had approached the Supreme Court against the plans to allow Ganesh Chaturthi festivities at the Eidgah Maidan. Senior advocate Kapil Sibal mentioned the plea before Chief Justice UU Lalit on Monday to seek an urgent hearing, saying, and I'd like to quote, unnecessary tensions will be created, end quote. Remember, it was on the 25th of August when a single bench of the Karnataka High Court had said that the land could be used only as a playground and for celebrating Independence Day or Republic Day by the government or the BBMP. They had also mentioned that the Muslim community can offer prayers on both Eids. A day later, however, a division bench modified the order on appeal and followed the government to take a decision as far as this land is concerned. The contention was whether the ground is a Waqf property or a public property to be open for festivals across religions. The Supreme Court today ordered an interim status quo from both sides, asking for the puja celebrations to be held elsewhere and also asked the sides to go back to the High Court post this period of 2 days. While this is in favor of the Eidgah for now, the larger question is, what does this mean as far as the democratic structure and faith parity of the country is concerned? So let's first talk to you as far as this legal battle is concerned. Let's first break down in terms of what happened as far as the Hubli High Court is concerned, and then we'll talk to you as far as the legal battle in the Supreme Court is concerned. Now, as far as the High Court Hubli Eidgah Maidan case was concerned, the Hubli Eidgah Municipal Commissioner to decide, that's what we've heard, and they've referred it to the High Court order in the Chamrajpet Eidgah Maidan case. The High Court go ahead for Ganesh Chaturthi at Maidan. That's as far as the High Court Hubli is concerned. But now let's talk about where the larger legal battle actually played out, which was the Supreme Court as far as what should happen there. Should Ganesh Chaturthi happen or should a status quo should be maintained? The big takeaway that we heard from the Supreme Court after a fierce battle was that status quo will be maintained from both the sides, and this will be for a period of 2 days, which essentially means that there will be no Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations. You have to hold your festivities elsewhere, and you can also go back to the High Court after 2 days. Essentially what I said, which essentially means that no Ganesh festivities at the Maidan tomorrow. This is what we heard as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. But what is the background as far as this legal tussle is concerned, and what are the arguments that have been made as far as ownership is concerned? Let's break down those details. There are 3 parties involved in this. First, you have the Waqf Board, which are saying that this is their property, which means it can only be used for their events or may be used for national events. Then let's talk to you about the other player, which is the BBMP. They're saying this is a public playground, can be used for public use if you actually have the permission which is made available. Then let's talk to you about the third party, which is the Hindutva groups, which are saying you actually make it available as far as all events are concerned and allow these Ganesha festivities. Of course, as I pointed out, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, a status quo now has been asked to be maintained for an interim days of 2 days, and then the parties can go back to the High Court. But let's also now talk to you as far as the past controversies as far as this Eidgah Maidan is concerned. In June 2022, you in fact had pro-right organizations who had sought permission to hold multiple events. As far as the Yoga Day in June 21 was concerned, the permission was not granted by the BBMP. Then let's talk to you about what happened Independence Day. On the August 6th, BBMP declared it as a government land. For the first time at that point, the tricolour was hoisted after 1947. The Waqf Board at this point had challenged the ownership decision. Then let's talk to you about another example as far as the Qibla wall is concerned. There, the Hindu outfit had given an ultimatum for the demolition of the wall, and FIR was filed over this thread. Then let's talk to you about the most recent flashpoint, which is the Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations. The Ganesh Chaturthi demand for celebration was raised in July actually, and then on the 26th of August it was cleared by the High Court, and this, as I pointed out, was challenged by the Waqf as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, and there a status quo today has been ordered for the Supreme Court. They've also gone on to say that you can go back to the High Court as far as this time period of 2 days is concerned. The larger question that we're asking this evening is this: what does this mean as far as the democratic fabric of the country is concerned, and whose Maidan really is it? You can also use our hashtags and then get involved in our debates. Let me also now bring in our guest to take this discussion forward. We have the national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma. We have the spokesperson of the KPCC, Sanket Yanagi. We have author and activist, Rahul Iswar. We have lawyer, Swapnil Kothari. We also have advocate and political analyst, Tausif Ahmed Khan. Good to have all of you on the broadcast with us. Rahul Iswar, let me begin the discussion with you. Do you think what we heard from the Supreme Court today was in fact the right way to go? Because as far as the ownership claim is concerned, that's a larger battle and possibly couldn't have been contained or understood in such a little time. So a status quo to be maintained, what it was will continue, and if you have problems, you can approach the High Court after this period of 2 days.
There are two questions. One is a larger question of ownership. Please remember, every Maidan in India belongs to India. They might be held by various communities, but every Maidan should be a Maidan for harmony, pluralism, celebration of diversity. If tomorrow, I know I am proud to belong to a tradition where we celebrate our Hindu festival with the Muslim brothers, and Muslim brothers' most festival are being celebrated by us in Sabarimala. So such kind of pluralism should be the right tone to go ahead. Second point, please remember, Ganesh Chaturthi is a much larger festival than a religious festival alone. It has a great cultural legacy. You know, it was a channel of anger against the British government, and Balagangadhar Tilak, the great leader, channelized Ganesh festival as a nation-building festival. So it is a much larger connotation rather than a mere ritual or a religious festival. Ganesh festival has a cultural, nationalistic subtext and a context. Third, our Muslim brothers of various communities participate in Ganesh festival, showing solidarity, just like we participate in many of their festivals. My only humble request to our Muslim brothers is, rather than confrontation, we need conciliation. Rather than having different kind of confrontational attitudes. I'm a Hindu activist, so it would be great if we can talk to Hindu community members of Karnataka, resolve it, take it in a very positive spirit. And please remember, one core point is Ganesh Chaturthi festival is a passing festival. Nobody is going to consecrate anything. Nobody is going to build any temple or something. So as a Hindu activist, my only humble submission is, inshallah, there be harmony, but at the same point of time, please send out a good message by showing great examples of brotherhood, so that we can celebrate it together and tell to the world we had a Ganesh Chaturthi festival with the great assistance and brotherhood from our Muslim community. That would have sent out a greater message to the world rather than arguing on technicalities.
Okay, so you're saying this is the time to keep differences aside, and as a community we should have come together to have a feeling of brotherhood that should have been sent out. Possibly this is an issue that shouldn't have reached the courts as well. But Swapnil, I want to first bring you in, and I want to understand the legality. As far as the Waqf board is concerned and their legal team is concerned, they're saying there is no real dispute here. This is our property, this is our land, so there is no conversation as far as any other festivities are concerned. As far as the BBMP is concerned, they're saying this is public land, so this can be open with permission for various activities. As per the law, is there a dispute?
Well, obviously there is a dispute, because that's forming part of the pleadings, and the court, after hearing both the sides, decided that it should be shunted back to the high courts, where the people can go ahead and litigate their grievances. If the title doesn't seem to be in dispute, because in terms of ownership of the land, it's there in the name of the Waqf. But if there is an argument and BBMP is able to show that this belongs to the state, as there was some sort of a conciliatory gesture 15 years ago between them, that yes, religious activities of any nature should be allowed, and if there was some sort of a concession, then there is some strong argument to the effect that it does not belong to anybody in particular, and it does not stand in the name of anybody in particular. If BBMP is able to prove that, then it belongs to the state. And once it belongs to the state being law and order being the subject of the state can decide eventually what sort of activities should take place on which ground. Now, this forms the substratum of the legal case. Then you have the Places of Worship Act. Then you have Article 25 of the Constitution. All of those things come into play. Obviously, any High Court, once it's seized of this matter, will have to marry all these issues together and at the end of the day come out with a conclusion one way or the other. But there is one thing that I'm happy about the Supreme Court on a larger perspective, Nidima, is that, as you rightly pointed out, and I agree with you in totality, that this matter should have never reached the courts at all. Both the factions should come across and sit together and decide this matter as if it was some matter, where, some very little bickering should have taken place, and thrash it out rather than taking it to the courts. Because once the matter goes to the top court of the land, and if the top court decides one way or the other, it opens up a Pandora's box for further litigation. If, say, for example, today the Supreme Court would have held that, yes, let the Ganesh festivities be allowed, it would have been a good judgment. The Hindu side would have been very happy. But then what would have happened is that, okay, fair enough. The Muslims were to take it this way that, okay, on our land, you've allowed Hindu activities. Tomorrow we'll go ahead and litigate that on Hindu land, there should be some Muslim activity.
Where does this
or
then
Parsi
end?
land,
And
there
this
should be Sikh
also
activity.
results in really charged, polarized atmosphere, which is what we want a solution to. But Tausif Ahmed, I want to bring you in. Even if the court was to say that you allow these Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations, personally asking, as I said when I started the show, I feel this shouldn't have even reached the top court or the apex court. But what is the harm if the Ganesh Chaturthi celebration even had to happen? There is no taking away as far as the Eid celebration or the Eid festivities. Nobody is touching with that. What was the fear?
No, you see why the matter has come before the court. Because the entire fact that this is a Waqf land, that this is dedicated for religious and charitable purposes, and that it has been in continued possession from last 200 years with the Muslim side, with our namaz being offered there. This entire fact was being disputed. This entire fact was being challenged. And therefore, the Supreme Court has decided that it is admitted position of the Hindu side or the state side that there was no Ganesh Chaturthi or any non-Muslim religious cultural functions were held in that land before. Therefore, why change it now? Let the matter be settled. If it is a matter about who controls the land, who owns the land, whether it is a Waqf land or not, then let the matter be decided by the court, because now the parties have come to court. It is the appeal was taken out by the state side. The Waqf board did not go in appeal against the single judge's order. The appeal was taken first in 2022 by the state side, and therefore the matter has reached Supreme Court. If the matter was to be amicably settled, then it could have been very easily and amicably settled. A simple permission from the one who holds the land.
So why wasn't it settled? The reason that I'm asking you this is when we talk about the democratic fabric, or as far as the secular fabric of the country is concerned, there now seems to be a lopsided expectation that only one side needs to come forward and be ready to give more than the other. That seems to be the sentiment as far as this argument is concerned. If we are so open with the idea of brotherhood, why did this even reach as far as the legal battle of the apex court is concerned?
Yes, the idea of brotherhood has to be, shown by action by the state government. The state government banned Muslim traders, poor Muslim traders, from opening their shop next to temple. What harm could it done? Could it, these poor traders who just want to earn some kind of money by selling stuffs outside the temples, they were not entering inside the temple and disturbing the devotees. But yet the state government, Bangalore state, Karnataka state government disallowed them. There was a whole ruckus. We all know that. How could we forget
Sanju
that?
Verma, I want
Therefore,
to bring you in here. While we continue to discuss and debate as far as whether they should have even reached the top court or not, the other part of this discussion is that somewhere the state government is responsible for what is happening. Karnataka seems to be seeing a pattern of polarized situations because it's 1 year as far as the elections are concerned, and possibly there is a thinking today as far as optics is concerned that this could work in the favor of the state government.
Ridhima, I think Swapnil made a very interesting point. I also believe that how I wish this entire fracas had not reached the apex court, because there are some things which can easily be sorted out if you sit across the table and are willing to have an amicable discussion.
True.
But given the scenario that we are caught in currently, let us just examine a couple of things. Point number one, I'll quickly tell you what, the BJP stand is. Point number one, on 26th August, as you rightly pointed out, the single judge bench of Karnataka High Court said maintain status quo, that is, do not have Ganesh Chaturthi celebration at the Eidgah Maidan at Chamarajpet. But on 26th August, a two-judge bench of the Karnataka High Court said no, Ganesh Chaturthi celebration can be held at the Idgah Maidan. It is after that the Karnataka Waqf Board and the Chamarajpet Muslim Association, they said we will go to the Supreme Court, and they brought this matter to the voters of the Apex Court. Now the Apex Court will give its final verdict presumably after 2 days. In the interim period, there will be no Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations at the Idgah Maidan. But one very important thing which nobody seems to be mentioning here is that if you look at just the technicality, on the 6th of August 2022, when the entire issue was just about beginning to blow up, the ownership of the Idgah Maidan, that became a matter of controversy much later in the public eye. But it had already reached the court in the first week of August, and the Karnataka Revenue Department and the Karnataka Revenue Minister, Mr. R. Ashoka, clearly said on the 6th of August that the Chamarajpet Idgah Maidan belongs to the Karnataka Revenue Department. It does not belong to the BBMP. It does not belong to any Muslim association. It does not belong to the Karnataka Waqf Board. And do you know something, Ridhima? Nobody has disputed that particular claim.
Okay.
The fact that the Idgah Maidan is owned by the Karnataka Revenue Department, that claim has not been contested either by the Karnataka Waqf Board or by the BBMP or by the Chamarajpet Muslim Association.
So Sanket Yanagi, help me understand, if taking on from what Sanju Verma is saying, that the Eidgah Maidan, one second Sanju Verma, I'll come back to you. If the Eidgah Maidan is as far as the ownership of the Revenue Department is concerned, then where really is the dispute?
Let me point out that the order of the Supreme Court is a tight slap on the BJP. It's communal and divisive politics and religious hatred being spread through the organizations for facing 2023 elections. So if you look at the facts of the matter, there are three interesting factors. Number one, it is the case of the Muslim Association that they have been in possession of the property and enjoying it since 1871. And they further claim that under section 5.2 of the Mysore State Waqf Board, which was constituted under section 5.2 of the Waqf Act, this property was declared as the Waqf property. And the recent act of Karnataka Waqf Act of 1995 clearly says that the provisions of the Waqf Act override any other provisions which are prevailing in the state. So once it is declared as a Waqf property, that continues to be the Waqf property, and no department would have any right over the property except other than the Waqf Board, which is the absolute owner and enjoying the right of ownership, enjoyment and possession. And now coming back to the facts of this matter, there are a few interesting factors which are relevant. So firstly, the property is a place of worship and it has been declared so. If it is a place of worship, the next question is as to whether a place of worship could be converted under any other provision of law for any other religion. Section 3 of the Place of Worship Act.
But this is where I think there is a grey zone, because there is no conversion happening and neither is there any construction happening. But I just want to one sec. I'll come back to the larger issue. Rahul Ishwar, I want to bring you in. Just sticking to the legality and technicality as far as the Waqf law is concerned, if it is their property, which means only their events can take place. Till the time any court actually quashes, the law and the legality still holds. So what is wrong in that? Today possibly there is a fear that today they're asking for Eidgah Maidan, tomorrow it could be something else.
2 points. One, See, I'm being a common man who vouches and who works for Hindu-Muslim unity. I'm not that adept in the in-depth technicalities of law, even though being a law student. But more important is the harmony of mind. Technicality of law should always be subservient to the harmony of minds. It would have been a great message that our Muslim brothers, could have. I respect and understand the inhibitions and apprehensions they might be having. But please understand the nature. As you rightly pointed out, there is no construction, there is no consecration, there is no permanent structure that is going to happen. There is a big Maidan. As we all know, our nation is short of such huge places. It's a such beautiful Maidan. Let the Ganesh also pass through it. As you all know, Ganesh also ends in a Visarjan, in a sea or a pond or a lake or in a water body. So it's a procession, and I respect the apprehensions of our Muslim community, but rather than talking to your Hindu brothers, talking it out, solving it out, that would be the great thing. And I would request people like Tawfiq ji to come to Kerala, because in Kerala, in many places in our temples and mosques, there is a competition between Hindus and Muslims of who will perform the festival better in a positive light. That means Muslims are that much cooperating for Hindu festivals, and Hindus are that much cooperating for Muslim festival and Christian festivals. See, this is how our nation is built. Only upon harmony can we build a nation, and not upon the mere technicalities of law. Supreme Court ने जो कहा, हमें respect करता है. We are totally respected. But at the same point of time, there is a much more larger message of harmony, goodwill, and brotherhood that needs to be sent. And that is the core here. Had Mahatma Gandhi been alive, had Vivekananda been alive, whether it is a Muslim land or a Hindu land, would they object to a Hindu or a Muslim procession in any other temple land? See, this is our land. We are having such good density of population. What is the harm in mingling well? What is the harm in celebrating?
Tawseef Ahmed can't respond to what Rahul Ishwar is saying. Why can't Karnataka take examples from what is happening in the other states? What about the idea of being one India? For how long can we continue as far as this polarizing narrative is concerned? Where does it end?
No, Karnataka must learn from West Bengal. I can cite West Bengal as an example. The one of the very revered temple, Kali temple, the Dakshineshwar temple, is has a Muslim as the chief of the management. Why can't they learn instead? And there is no ban, like you have banned in Karnataka. Muslim traders are banned from coming near the temple and opening shop. There is no such ban in Bengal. They can learn it from here. I'm openly inviting them. But what is happening is BJP is indulging into Hindu appeasement politics because they have gone bankrupt with their policy failures. So how do they dupe the people of country? Is by evoking the sentiments. When they evoke these
Sanju, is this Hindu appeasement politics that is resulting in us having debates like these?
Yes, Ridhima, this is so laughable and yet so tragic. The fact of the matter is that Hindus are very tolerant, very peace-loving, but at the same time, for way too long, Hindus have been subjugated. For instance, I'll tell you, I stay in Mumbai. For the last 3 years, the Muharram processions have always clashed with the Durga Puja immersion. And every time I see that the timings were changed to accommodate the Muharram procession, and the Durga Puja immersions happened 12 to 24 hours later than when they were supposed to. Now please shut up, I did not interrupt you. Shut up, I did not interrupt you. Ridhima, either you give me my time or I walk out of the debate.
Okay.
I did not interrupt you.
Tawseef, let Sanju make her point. I'll let you respond. Sanju.
Yes. The problem with this man is he wants to be politics, but he does not have the decency to listen. Now the fact of the matter is, why is it that each time there is a Muharram procession, Hindus are asked, अरे भाई अपनी दुर्गा पूजा की इमर्शन को थोड़ा रोक दीजिए. Let the Muharram procession pass through peacefully. This happens every year in Mumbai, and people like me say, ठीक है भाई साहब, Muharram की procession जाने दो, हम हिंदू दुर्गा पूजा की procession कुछ घंटों के बाद कर लेंगे. But the fact is that once if you raise your voice, जैसे देखा, इस बार इन्होंने आवाज उठाने की जुर्रत. The point is this. Oh, you please stop lecturing. I think Ridhima, you're not able to raise man. Fine, you can continue. Ridhima, you must read about
Bengal before the kill of Bengal.
Tauseef, let Sanju respond. This is not fair because she didn't interrupt you, and we're unable to even understand what's happening there. I'm also running out of time. Sanju, 30 seconds for you, and I want to take in a final word from Swapnil then. Sanju, 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, and please ensure that I'm not interrupted. I did not interrupt anybody on this panel when they were speaking.
Sanju, please, fair.
I want to say one thing very clearly. If you look at Karnataka's history in the last few months, be it the halal meat versus the jhatka meat debate, be it the hijab verdict, what happened prior to the hijab verdict? All the radical Islamic organizations said, we will believe in whatever judgment the Karnataka High Court gives. The moment the Karnataka High Court said that wearing hijab is not mandatory, it is not dictated by Islam, it is not a matter of choice, you have to adhere to the school uniform. If there is already a pre-prescribed school uniform,
sure, fair enough.
Don't believe the Karnataka High Court. So the fact is, radical organizations believe in my way or the highway, and Tauseef belongs to one of them, and so does this Congress.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. I want to go back to the larger question, which is, could this have been solved without going to the courts? I want to bring in Tauseef, 1 second. I want to give the final word to Swapnil. Swapnil, now that there is a status quo for the next 2 days, what the Supreme Court has also said, if you want, you can go back to the High Court after this. What are the legal options as far as the High Court is concerned?
Well, in fact, today in Hubli, I think the High Court has voted in favor of the Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations, and even earlier, I think the High Court had said that I leave it to the state because if it's a state land, we don't want to interfere. I think, I pretty much knew what the Supreme Court judgment was going to be because I know that what the Supreme Court is trying to do is trying to say that, look, as far as these kind of issues are concerned, we leave it to the wisdom of the two factions. We do not want to enter into this arena at all unless really made emergency or really it's urgent for us or unless it's really mandatory for us to step into as far as the more important questions of law is concerned. Because otherwise the court is going to wrangle itself into multiple litigations on these issues. And Justice Uday Lalit's beckoning call yesterday that he's got his 74-day tenure and he's trying to reduce the backlog of the courts, that will go into oblivion completely. So this is something which the court has done a fantastic job. It has said that please go ahead and let me tell all your panelists and all the audiences that this is not the slap on the face of a BJP or this is some. Every time I do not understand why BJP has to be made some sort of a culprit. It is a slap on the face of every politician who tends to use religion as a political tool. Now, whether that person belongs to any of the parties is secondary. That is what the Supreme Court is trying to say, that do not politicize this issue. Do not come to us. We are not going to.
Don't create a controversy when there is none. Why are you making a mole out of a mountain? That exactly was the essence as far as the courts were concerned. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. I appreciate all our guests who took out the time to join us. We'll really have to see which way this goes. We're now shifting our focus to the other big debate, which is what can really save the Congress party today with these presidential elections that are due. Can we actually now see a non-Gandhi president?
Whether I am going to be a candidate or not is beside the point. Any candidates coming forward will be good for the Congress party. If one day other vistas open up, one doesn't want to say no.
नहीं भी होगा, जो भी होगा वो चपरासी की तरह फाइल लेके जाएगा, किसको बनाना है, किसको नहीं बनाना है.
So as I said, we want to now try and get some answers to the question of what can really save the Congress party today. In the backdrop of one exit after another from the Congress party, the election for the post of Congress party's president will be held on the 17th of October and the counting will be done on the 19th. Now, there are two things to watch out for here. One, is the election process actually democratic because of all the allegations that have been made from those who have left the party? And more importantly, can the Congress actually see a non-Gandhi president? Remember, Sonia Gandhi, who took over the reins of the party again as interim president, had also offered to quit in August 2020 after an open revolt by a section of leaders of the G23, but the CWC had urged her to continue. Now ahead of the Congress presidential polls, senior Congress leader Shashi Tharoor might have also thrown his hat into the ring. Tharoor wrote an article for the Malayalam daily Mathrubhumi calling for a free and fair election. He further said, and I'd like to quote, "Many Congress workers have been dismayed by Rahul Gandhi's refusal to contest polls, but in a democracy, no party should put itself in the position in believing that only one family can actually lead it," end quote. So is there now a possibility that we could see the likes of Shashi Tharoor also running as far as the presidential polls are concerned? Let's break down some other interesting details first in terms of if we have to see a non-Gandhi president, who really are the front runners at this point. First, the name we're picking up is Ashok Gehlot. Let's do a SWOT analysis of what actually works for him and what goes against him. A veteran leader can tap into the OBC vote bank, but what goes against him? Perception that he is subservient to the Gandhis. Let's also now bring you some other detail. Shashi Tharoor, as I said, possibly has thrown his hat into the ring. What works for him? Administrative experience as an MP and as an ex-minister as well. But what goes against him? Not seen as a mass leader who can actually galvanize the cadre. So even if he is a front runner, can he really change things as far as the Congress's performance is concerned? Then let's talk about some other young guns. Sachin Pilot, what works for him? Young mass leader, can help tap into the first-time voters. But what goes against him? His leadership will be seen as a threat to Rahul Gandhi. So will we actually see some sort of consensus here? Then let's talk to you about the other big name. What really works here? Electoral track record in Karnataka, which is going to polls. What goes against him, but not a pan-India leader, seen as a staunch Gandhi loyalist. So the big question now is, will we actually see a non-Gandhi president, and will the Gandhis be okay with the idea of the leadership going elsewhere? Let me first bring in a newsmaker for this evening. We have T.S. Singh Deo, Chhattisgarh Health Minister and Senior Congress Leader, now joining us. Sir, thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on the broadcast. The conversation now is that, is this the time for a non-Gandhi president to actually come as far as the forefront of the party is concerned? Because this is the only option left to save or revive the party.
I think Congress party is going through its party election schedule, and the dates for filing of nomination for the party presidentship and the date for the election of the new party president, they have been declared. So we should wait for that date to come, for the filing of nominations to be completed, and if required, voting, and then the new president.
Okay, I know you're saying that let the procedure at least be complete and then we'll see what the results are. But if you have to go by as far as the past elections are concerned, we've actually seen it go in circles between the Gandhis themselves. And that is why many are saying the problem is the Gandhis will be very reluctant to let go as far as the leadership is concerned.
I think these are news and views which are brought to public platforms through interested parties. People who feel that the Congress would be best served probably by the strongest leadership it has, which today happens to be the members of the Nehru Gandhi family. They are the ones who try to bring this up onto the public platform and try to say that the Congress does not function beyond the Nehru Gandhi family. If you see the history of either pre-independent India or independent India, you have members from the Nehru Gandhi family who have been presidents of the party. You have members of the Congress party who have not been members of the Nehru Gandhi family. They have been presidents of the party. They have been prime ministers. So it is quite unfair, to try and single out a particular family, to try and sort of eliminate them from the political process by insinuating that there is some such agenda to capture power by a particular family or to stay in power by a particular family, which is just not true based on the fact of pre or post-independent India.
But sir, going by the comments that we've heard from those who have left the party recently, for example, what Ghulam Nabi Azad said, he said, yes, you can have elections all you want, but the entire election process is a sham, is just for optics.
Is Mr. Nadda an optic? He is the president of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Should we treat him as an optic? Should we treat Mr. Amit Shah, who had been party president, as an optic in the BJP? Should we treat Mr. Singh, who was the party president before him, also as an optic? Mr. Advani as an optic? These are views which seem to be extremely biased. And again, like I said, they are views already formed to try and harm the Congress party by eliminating a particular leadership, which may be within the party its strongest leadership. It's appealed amongst the people today could be the broadest and the strongest. So how to harm the Congress? Put up a bogey. Nehru Gandhi family, they are hungry for power. They don't want to let go. Rahul Gandhi himself resigned from the presidentship of the Congress party and has been espousing this view that he is extremely reluctant to take on the responsibility. And why? I really, frankly, do not agree with his view, but that is his personal view. He is the strongest president that the Congress party would have today from amongst itself. But these are the impacts of propaganda that people are able to create successfully through the media and the social media today. And Rahul ji is saying he is not keen to, or he won't be going to take the responsibility of party president. It will be unfortunate, but it is for him to take a call.
Okay, you're saying it's for him to take a call. The other allegation that has been made as far as this entire process is concerned, and again, by those who left the party, saying that there is a coterie which is today actually leading to the downfall as far as the Congress party is concerned.
Again, these are malicious propaganda. You yourself are a very intelligent individual. You would be working in a system. Do you not have a hierarchy in your company? Which party, which organization does not have a hierarchy which you want to name? You can name as a coterie, whether it is in business, whether it is in any political party. Does not every political party have a hierarchy? And at the right at the top, there are a few people who are advisors of the persons in the topmost seats of responsibility. That is there with every party, every single party. You want to name it a coterie, you can name it a coterie. But there is no political party. You name one political party which does not have a group of people who advise their topmost leadership. Does the RSS not have a coterie? Does the BJP not have a coterie? Does the DMK not have a coterie? Does the AIDMK not have a coterie? Does the RJD not have a coterie? You name one political party. Does the Aam Aadmi Party not have a coterie? If the group of senior most advisors are to be termed coteries, every party has a coterie.
Okay. Lastly, sir, I also want to understand as far as the front runners are concerned. I just put out some names, Ashok Gehlot, Shashi Tharoor are the names that we are picking up. Have they made their want to be party president clear? Has that communication happened within the party?
Not me. I have not had a conversation with anybody. For me, I'm a, let us say, traditional party person. I feel Sonia Gandhi ji has been doing her very best as the president, has been amongst the very successful party president. If she does not continue for health or other reasons, otherwise she is there and there is every reason for her to continue. But if health grounds are there, then it is for others to take a call. If Rahul ji has made up his mind that he is not going to contest the party president's post, then it is open for senior Congress person, and there could be any number of people. We should wait for the nominations to be filed.
Okay, we'll have to wait for the nominations to be filed. Sir, we appreciate you joining us here on CNN News 18. So the larger question that we're asking then this evening is, can a non-Gandhi president really save the Congress party? You can once again use hashtag Congress President and get involved in our debate. Let me also now bring in our guest. We have Lok Sabha MP from the Congress, Manikam Tagore, and the national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanju Verma, continues to be with us. Good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. Sanju Verma, let me begin with you first. If you heard that snippet of the conversation that I had with T.S. Singh Deo, he's saying, let at least the elections happen. then it will be for everybody to see what the future plan of the Congress is. But before that, let's not make conspiracy theories.
Ridhima, if the Congress party has decided that they will conduct, elections to the post of the party president, I think that's welcome news. We've always said that India does need a strong opposition, a constructive opposition. But, for heaven's sake, I cannot fathom that the once grand old party actually left the party president's position open for more than 3 years. For more than 3 years, there is no full-time party president. You only have an interim president, point number one. Point number two, the fact of the matter is, if you look at the statements by Ashok Gehlot, or even Shashi Tharoor or some of the other second-tier and third-tier Congress leaders, at the end of the day, they are just not able to move away from the Gandhis. And tell me one very important thing, Ridhima. In which country does a leader lose 45 small and big elections for his party and is still hailed as the next best thing after brown bread to have happened to his party? I'm talking of Rahul Gandhi. And the last but not the least, the most important point I want to make is, look at the manner in which Ghulam Nabi Azad was mocked. People said, अरे हमने आपको जम्मू कश्मीर का चीफ मिनिस्टर बनाया, हमने आपको इंदिरा गांधी के दौरान मिनिस्टर बनाया, नरसिम्हा राव के दौरान मिनिस्टर बनाया, राजीव गांधी के कैबिनेट में मिनिस्टर बनाया, मनमोहन सिंह के कैबिनेट में मिनिस्टर बनाया, and you have the audacity to leave us. So look at this sense of entitlement. These guys talk of introspection, but whenever somebody raises important questions, the only thing they do is indulge in slamming that person below the belt. I want to quickly end by just saying, are these people fringe elements? Ghulam Nabi Azad, Sunil Thakur, Hardik Patel, Ashwini Kumar, RPN Singh, Kuldeep Bishnoi, Raju Parmar, Naresh Rawal, Dasaju Shravan, K. Rajagopal Reddy,
Sanju Verma, you would appreciate that I gave you uninterrupted time. You've made your point. I'll go to the larger issue of why we're seeing so many exits. But Manikam Tagore, I want to first bring you in, and taking on from what Sanju Verma is saying, that's a valid argument to be made. Forget the elections that are going to happen now, whether we'll see a non-Gandhi president. Why did the Congress want to continue with an interim president for so long?
No, those people who don't know about the Congress can speak like this. Who don't know about the ABC of the Congress Constitution, they can speak like this. Congress party has elected working committee as the right to elect a president. And when Mr. Rahul Gandhi ji took responsibility in 2019 and resigned, in that time, Congress working committee decided to elect Mrs. Sonia Gandhi ji as the president again. And therefore, every senior leader in the working committee requested her. Therefore, she accepted that responsibility. She was a full-time president. She was hands-on approach towards everything. We know it, and she has been there for 3 years as president. It has been the COVID time also. She was able to drive the Congress party, to energize the Congress party. So that is not these technicalities. Whomever is not reading about the Constitution, they can see about it. Particularly the BJP friends won't know the Congress culture. We all know Congress party, it is our business to decide about our president, and it is our PCC delegates who will decide
Manikam
about
Tagore, I apologize
Congress
for interrupting. I wanted to give you uninterrupted time, but when you were saying it led to an energized Congress, it had a very different ground reality. Your poll performances was shrinked. Punjab was a state that you lost. And as far as leaders who wanted to leave your party simply because they felt there is no democratic structure within the party, that only increased.
You are putting 2-3 questions. Please allow me to. Whomever has left, they had gone for positions. Whomever has wanted not only to struggle and fight against Amit Shah and Modi, they had left the Congress and they had joined BJP to get some MOS ministers here and there, and MP and others, positions and others. Therefore, leave about those people who always travel for greener postures. They are not political. They just want positions. People with positions, they are not without water. That culture, the habit is few of them up there. They are left. Therefore, they are all born with silver spoon people who can't fight against oppression and autocracy. Second issue you raised about is about the Congress party's structural democratic inside the party. Congress party is the party you can speak in any forum. It's a democratic party, and everybody gives even in public also Congress leaders speaks. Therefore, there is no Congress. There is no control for democracy. We can speak. We have the right to speak about it. We usually debate among the party members also. There is a clear cut. There is no control about it. That you should not speak like that. It's not an RSS guided organization. Congress is a democratic organization. We give all the members all the right to speak.
Okay, Sanju Verma, respond that what is the BJP taking the moral high ground for? At least we are a democratic party, claims the Congress.
I just want to say one thing. We've all heard of the proverbial ostrich with head buried under the sand. And I think that is the current condition of the Congress. The Congress basically has the Gandhi Parivar, which functions like a private limited company. In this private limited company, there are 4 people who are the be-all and end-all. Sonia Gandhi, the mother, Rahul Gandhi, the son, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, the daughter, and the son-in-law, Robert Vadra. And the fact of the matter is that Congress today has encouraged and perpetuated a Darbari culture of family retainers. What did J.V. Shergill say? What did R.P.N. Singh say? What did Ghulam Nabi Azad say? They said one thing which was common. They all said, we are hurt, we are humiliated because the Congress today is run by psychopaths. Decisions are taken by the personal bodyguards of the Gandhi. It cannot get lower than that. It cannot get more shameful than that. I just want to say one very important thing. J.P. Nadda very rightly says, today BJP is the only national party because we have Karyakarta, we have Karyakram, we have Karyashali, we have Karyakoshti. What does the Congress have? Do you have a committed Karyakarta? No. Do you have committed Karyashali? No.
Okay.
Do you have committed Karyakram? No. And I want to ask one more thing. Mr. Manikam, last time in the Lok Sabha elections, more than 34% of the seats got by the Congress came from just Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
Do you think you will better that ratio or is it going to get worse? Because internal ground reports say that Congress will not even do well in Tamil Nadu, which is supposedly one of its strong points.
We'll talk about the poll performance if time permits. But Manikam Tagore, I want to actually give you the final word. The allegation that is being made by those who have left the party is that there is a coterie around the Gandhis which continues to go in circles. So Rahul Gandhi says he doesn't want to be the leader, but many within the coterie will say, no, we want Rahul Gandhi to be the leader. It will then go back to Sonia Gandhi. And this is how the pattern of the Congress works. It's going to be extremely difficult for a non-Gandhi president to even be elected. Forget about him wanting to bring some sort of structural change.
This may be your view. Congress party has 12 crore supporters, and
I'm
Congress
only quoting what those who left the party have said, like Javeer and Ghulam Nabi Azad and others.
Please hear it. If you want me, if you are invited for my debate, you should hear it. You should have a patience to hear it. Or else I'll go out. There is no issue. Okay? If you have to hear it. When I come here, I am a member of parliament, 2-time member of parliament. You are speaking like these things. Kindly allow us to express our
Please go ahead, sir. I'm giving you all the time.
You are not giving. That's the thing. That only I told. But I think that you can speak on your own and have your show. Thank you.
Okay, sir, we are giving you all the time. I would want a response from your side. Please go ahead.
When I'm explaining to you, because you are asking another party, and when you had called for a debate, I should have controlled it in a correct way.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Anyway, I'll tell to you very clearly, therefore allow me to put my points. Congress party is a democratic party. Congress party has had 12 crore voters. Therefore, only BJP, Amit Shah and Modi wants Congress Mukt Bharat, because every day and night they have to speak about Congress. because Congress is the party which can defeat them. One, Congress party is not a
Okay.
for it, and we wanted to connect people. And Mr. Rahul Gandhi is taking 700 kilometers from Kanyakumari to Kashmir from starting from September 7th.
Okay.
If a Congress party wants to reach out to the people, and Mr. Gandhi is leading it from the front. Therefore, other political parties, we have to understand that BJP as a political party has lost more elections than Congress itself. From 1980
Stop
to...
lying.
Okay.
Stop lying.
Sir, I
until,
apologize for
2000.
interrupting. We actually
lying.
seem to be losing your audio as well. I would have loved to give you a little more time, but unfortunately, I will have to wrap the discussion there. We'll have to see which way this goes as far as the election is concerned. I'd like to thank our guests. We're slipping into a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back with a wrap of all the other stories.